Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Ben-Nun here with Israeli News Live. The situation in Iran is brewing hotter and hotter. I want to share this video right here with you. Solid propelled two-stage Seagull ballistic missiles that was launched today in Iran. Take a look at this video right here. This is Iran's new ballistic missile system that they are now showing off, basically trying to let the West know they mean business. The only problem is one of those missiles ended up landing very close to a ship in the Indian Ocean. I think it's like 20 miles away from the ship there in the Indian Ocean where the missile fell at. And, of course, about 100 miles away from the USS Nimitz. As a result of that, President Trump has sent more B-52 bombers to the region. So the situation is getting very dire, to say the least. And so I'll take you quick to this article right here. Iranian missiles land within 20 miles of a ship and 100 miles from the Nimitz strike group in Indian Ocean, officials said there. So was that intentional, knowing the Nimitz was in that area? Of course, 100 miles is still a pretty doggone good distance away, and even 20 miles is really not that close to the other ship. But nonetheless, things are being stepped up. A good friend of mine, Israeli journalist, actually shared this information with me originally, and then one of my friends on Twitter sent me this article here. The one particular, oh goodness, more and more problems. I hate it when it does it. Okay, we'll just have to leave it there. It's not going to jump off of there until I continue on. Anyway, the situation already, though, is heating up. If you remember the other day when I spoke to you guys and shared with you some of the information was coming out of Washington, was that the president did not want to see violence. He wanted to see a smooth transition. But there were still two possibilities. Only one of those possibilities was shared with me at the time. And of course, what you're looking at pretty much says it all, right? I'll just kind of leave it at that. That would keep Trump in power. But I actually reached back out again and requested a meeting because there are some that are speaking about other things that could be coming down the pipe there. And although I'm still leery, I just fully don't trust things, especially when we talk about these arrests. Arrests are going to be made. Like we hear the Pope was arrested. Well, supposedly that really is a true story. I know a lot of people find that hard to believe because of his diplomatic immunity. And really the issue is I don't even know what he would have been arrested for in the first place. But there is martial law is coming. It is coming. That's something that I'm being told that it is coming. And when we say martial law is coming, the question is going to be, is it going to be declared by President Trump or will it be declared by Joe Biden as President of the United States on the 20th? Well, this was what got very interesting. If President Trump declares martial law, then you could expect to see that go down by Sunday. All right? If it does not happen on Sunday, I've been told that Joe Biden be inaugurated wouldn't change anything. There's still a very serious possibility that martial law could be declared by Joe Biden because of what they perceive to be a threat happening in D.C. And of course, even if he did declare martial law, the entire purpose for martial law would not be undermined regardless of who does it. You see, the military, from what I've been told, is heavily in favor of President Trump. You know, the other day we mentioned that particular Marine Corps general who refused Pelosi's request to send 5,000 additional Marines to the White House. Well, I found that kind of interesting, right? Especially in light of the things that I'm being told about now, and that is that the martial law would be used in order to be able to make those arrests. Now, I realize I'm not the first person making this statement. And of course, we already know Q has always been making these claims all along. But the thing is I'm very concerned that this is going to backfire on us, especially the real believers. A good friend of mine, Joseph right here, 1601 on Twitter, he posted this on his Twitter page. QAnon is literally a carbon copy of a massive Bolshevik psyop from the 1920s that was created to neutralize the remaining reactionary forces opposed to the communist takeover of Russia. The name of that psyop was Operation Trust. Now, Joseph actually here in a book here, he puts up the Golenstein Anatoly, New Lies for Old, pages 13 and 14. Watch what it says right here on the left side of the page, or page 13. A characteristic but not unique example of this technique is provided by the so-called trust operation. In 1921, as the NEP was being launched, the OGPU created inside Soviet and a false anti-Soviet organization, the Monarchist Alliance of Central Russia. It had once been a genuine organization founded by the Tsarist generals in Moscow and Leningrad, but liquidated by the Soviet Security Service in 1919 and 1920. Former members of the organization, among them the Tsarist generals and members of the old aristocracy who had come over the Soviet side, nominally led by the movement, their new loyalty to the Soviet regime was not in doubt, for they had betrayed their former friends in the anti-communist underground. There were Tsarist generals, Bruslovs and Zakhanovskys, and Tsarist military attaché in Yugoslavia, General Patopov, and Tsarist transport official Yukashev. The most active agent in the trust was a former intelligence officer of the General Staff of the Tsarist Russia, whose name many include Operput. Agents of the trust traveled abroad and established confidential contact with genuine anti-communist emerge leaders in order to ostensibly to coordinate activity against the Soviet regime. Among the important emergees they met were Boris Sunakov, Generals Wrangel and Kutupov. These agents confided in their contacts that the Soviet monarchist movement that they represented was now well established in Soviet Russia and had penetrated into the higher levels of the army, the security service, and even the government, and would in time take over and restore the monarchy. They convinced the emerge leaders that regime had undergone a radical change. Communism had completely failed. Ideology was dead. The present leaders had nothing in common with the fanatical revolutionists of the past. They were nationalists at heart, and their regime was evolving into a moderate national regime and might soon collapse. The NEP should be seen as the first important concession of the road to restoring capitalism in Russia. Soon political concession would follow. Because of this, said the trust agents, an intervention or gesture of hostility from the European powers of the emerge movements would be ill-advised, if not tragic, since it would only unite the Russian people around their government and so extend its survival. The European governments and the emerge leaders should put a stop to anti-Soviet terrorism activities and change their attitude from hostility towards the Soviet regime to one of a passive acceptance. They should grant diplomatic recognition and increase trade. In this way, they would have better opportunity to contribute to the evolutionary process. The emerge leaders should return to Russia to make their contribution. Naturally, there were doubters among the emerges, but the prestige of the leaders of the organization, particularly of General Brusilov, convinced the majority, and they accepted at face value the trust disinformation and passed it on to their influential friends in the European intelligence services. By the time it had been circulated to governments as secret intelligence, it sounded most impressive, and as time went on, the same story was confirmed by source after source. It became secret and reliable. The intelligence services of Europe were committed, and it was unthinkable. This is how Israel, or back in those days, the Jewish people, were able to pull off the Bolshevik Revolution. This trust operation was a psyop to find out who the dissenters were. So Yosef is very accurate when he says the QAnon is literally a carbon copy of the massive Bolshevik psyop from the 1920s. And so as I share this information with you, I share this information, but at the same time, I realize that what are we doing? Just like the article right here says, top rabbi, America's collapsing. Israel must step up as a new world superpower. We are helping to make Israel that superpower. In fact, it is, let's see, where is it at right here? It is President Trump that has made Israel great. Despite Trump's behavior, we Israelis must remember who had our back. Thank you and Happy New Year, President Trump. You're making Israel greater. So from what I've been told, and it's interesting because, yes, it's intel, but isn't it exactly what Yosef brought out here? The intel that you keep getting just reminds you of what went on in the Bolshevik Revolution. And so I hear President Trump, with the help of Giuliani as his attorney, actually began trying to bring Joe Biden to justice over a year ago. But they realized all the corruption in the government, all the corruption with the judges, and nobody, either the witnesses backed out, they got afraid, they were threatened, or whatever the case may be, but nothing could ever be done. So we come to the point to where all we have left is to pull off, at least the president's plan, from what I understand, is to pull off a modern day coup using the military and let the military make the arrest. And when they make the arrests, try them through military tribunals. I've been told as many as 1,000 people would be rounded up. But as any situation, when you're dealing with martial law, that puts a lot of people at risk. And maybe they've been looking for these dissenters all along. But I will say one thing, though, that I found that's very interesting, especially in light of the fact we know that the military, especially the Marine Corps, the generals there very much have the back of President Trump. And under martial law, even if Joe Biden were to be inaugurated, and let's say the situation gets so bad in D.C., which you can't imagine it would with 25,000 troops, right? Then what do we have? We would have Joe Biden would declare martial law. But oddly enough, even if Joe Biden declared martial law, the generals could move into place and begin arrest, which would include Joe Biden. I really thought that's a brilliant plan. Because I was told it doesn't matter whether or not Joe Biden becomes president of the United States. But here's the very serious issue, though, that we're facing. Regardless of what anybody may think of the situation that's going on, whether you're for President Trump, not for President Trump, whether you're for Biden or not for Biden, or if you're not for either one of them, we're about to head into some very dangerous territory. Biden's team have already solicited the Chinese military, which is in reality an Israeli military. And I was told President Trump knows that the Israeli elite have already stabbed him in the back. They used him and dumped him. But sadly, though, even with all that knowledge going on out there, right, the president is seeking to include Israel in SITCOM. But I can only imagine the reason for President including Israel in SITCOM is because of the Iranian war, something that they're wanting to get done. So even though you get articles like this one right here where, they say, despite Trump's behavior, we Israelis must remember who had our back. What's really going on, guys? What's really going on? I mean, really, though, even if Biden were to become president, he declares martial law, and then they begin a coup that ends up having Biden arrested. That's a brilliant plan. But it's not going to go down without consequences, because Biden's team, as I said, they've already solicited the Chinese army. The Chinese army, as I've been told by Mossad friends there, is that they're ran by Israel. Good friend of mine, John, talking to him the other day, he said, I had bad news, Steve. I said, what's the bad news? I thought I had good news, because I know that John, he does really stand with President Trump when it looks like that he may stay in power. Of course, it won't be an easy thing. But John said, well, the Chinese in Canada, the force is there. He's been told by a good friend of his, high-ranking officer in the military, they'd cease all their training operations and were giving a furlough pass, I think 24-hour furlough pass. And I asked, how could that be a bad news? He said, anytime you're doing a furlough pass, that means because you're fixing to go to war. And he said, generally, you will deploy within 48 hours of that furlough. In other words, they're getting a little bit of R&R, rest and relaxation, for those of you who don't know the military terms there, before they're to be deployed. You see, Biden is not ignorant. They know what's coming. I've been told this is why Pelosi is freaking out, trying to do everything she can to get Trump arrested or overthrown, declare the 25th Amendment by Vice President Mike Pence, anything. I've been told she's that desperate because she would also be rounded up and be brought to a military tribunal. But again, like I said, and listen, maybe this will really happen. I don't know the answer to that. I really don't know. It might not happen. It might just be another wishful thinking thing for everybody to believe that Trump is going to make it back in and then not make it back in. I will say, I've not been told any guarantees that these things would work, but this is supposed to be the plan. Now, at the same time, I was also told, and this is what a little concerns me, because I know that Trump has invested in these vaccines, the warp speed operation, everything. But I've been told that he doesn't even believe in these things. Let's say if this really does happen, because I want to be a little optimistic here for a moment. If this really does happen, let's say the arrests are made. And let's say all these bad actors on the Democratic side really are put in prison. I was told, though, and it's really weird, though, because it's kind of like that Bolshevik Revolution. Of course, that was about the QAnon thing. But I was told they were doing all these things in order to bring out the bad actors. They wanted to find out who were the really bad actors, especially on the Republican side. But let's just say, hypothetically, it really does happen. Let's say that we really do see these arrests and they do a coup, and we do see martial law breaks out, and that they round up all these political elite, including Joe Biden and Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and Obama and all the rest of the gang there. And they ended up getting charged, and they do go to a military tribunal. Or do they end up going to some place in Tahiti for a nice vacation? And it's just all another psyop, and we're all going to fall for it. I don't know the answer to that. But let's say that were to happen. And let's say that President Trump then comes out as he's back in power and says to the American people, this whole coronavirus was a hoax. Now, let's just happen to say that he says, no, I don't want to see people being jabbed in the arm. It's dangerous. By the way, I was told it's being used for mind control. Some things we're going to have to put on Patreon. Or brand new tube, or either iConnect. And by the way, for those of you too that on Patreon, let me just tell you something real quick. It's something you guys really have got to know. On our Patreon channel, I've had several videos shut down. Oh, by the way, our website's been redone a little bit. So you guys might want to check it out, especially if you go to right there when you go to the front page there, you can click on see what the latest videos are. Really got to thank my good friend there. Won't mention any names there. A good friend of mine helped me put this together. Our channel, this here, this our channel there. All these videos here are connected to iConnect, but you can go down, scroll down, see what videos you want to click on and see, things like that. Really, really, really beautiful job there. Stephen and Yana chat. So we have a section there for just those type videos there. Seems a lot of those have been deleted thanks to YouTube. This is one reason why we're using iConnect. But anyway, over on our Patreon channel, I've loaded several videos, and they've every one been deleted by YouTube recently, because I've been using my channel on YouTube called Stephen Ben-Nun. Even when it was just a little clip of a video, they still shut us down. All right, so this is our channel there, just so you can see that. Don't have very many videos loaded there, but I am using this more and more as a backup channel. So if you want to subscribe, definitely subscribe over there so you can join us there. But for those of you that are on Patreon, I've done everything I could to try to use YouTube somehow or another. And even when it was the video I loaded up where it was Yana and Dr. Carrie Madej, I actually joined in right at the end of that video as well. But it was all shut off. But even Brand New Tube, we load a lot of stuff on Brand New Tube as well. So you can always check out the channel there. Brand New Tube, Israeli News Live, right there. So that's brandnewtube.com/@Israeli News Live. Got to make sure you put that. I'll put the link in there. Future effects of those vaccinated for COVID there. That's the video right there. It is on Patreon as well. And but we're having to use iConnect. And iConnect is trying to fix all those issues that you guys have. But I'm at the point I can't do anything else. I have no YouTube channel anymore. We're at the point of so many strikes, we're going to be shut down completely. And I'm just not willing to risk it any longer. We've got to stop. So if you can't see it on Patreon because it's not working with iConnect for you, jump over to Brand New Tube, because a lot of times I'll put it there anyway. It might not be the same day. And there's some content that goes on Patreon that I just don't put on Brand New Tube. Anyway, so getting back to this whole situation of what's going on. Iran is using those ballistic missiles. They've given those things to Hezbollah. Hezbollah has a precision missiles that can paralyze strategic systems of Israel. That's a new article that just came out as well on Amman News. And so I really see a war breaking out regardless, even of this other stuff talking about, coup, whatever the case might be. And I wouldn't probably even be speaking of that right now if it wasn't for the fact that I know there have been others that have spoke of these things as well. So I wanted to share that, what little bit that I can share with you. I can't share every detail, but try to share some things with you. Now, tomorrow, too, I'm going to be talking to you guys from the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2. This is going to shock you, I think. I really think so. I'm going to be doing a teaching on this. I haven't highlighted everything as of yet, but this is clearly talking about the hour we're living in Habakkuk 2. And I'm going to get into that with you guys over on Ben-Nun Institute. So definitely be checking out, watch for a video there on Ben-Nun Institute. And also I want to share with those of you on Patreon, I promised a video and I have not uploaded it as of yet, but I am planning to upload it very soon about what we can expect this coming summer. And I just wanted to share some of those thoughts with you guys. I don't know. I realize that some of the things that we've talked about have not happened quite to the extent that we've been told that would happen, but I want to share some things with you. Not severe things. It's just more like droughts, issues with droughts, heating temperatures, storms, hurricanes. Last year, I was told about the hurricanes last year would be record breaker. This year, I'm told it's pretty much going to be the same thing, but even higher wind speeds. So I do want to get into some of that. I'll share that with you guys over on Patreon, the things that have been disclosed to me about those coming events as well. And keep in mind, going back to the issue of China, Biden has already requested the Chinese troops to come in. I spoke with my FEMA contact tonight, and he also said to me that after meeting with local sheriffs there, they're fully anticipating the Chinese troops as well. They do know that this is coming. They said there are Chinese troops already inside the United States, not just to mention on our borders, north and south. Well, not south so much, north border, yes. We have a nuclear Chinese submarine off the coast in the Atlantic. They're talking about possibility of false flag in D.C. Keep that in mind as well. And other places. I've heard this from Israeli intelligence a while back as well. If you remember, my Israeli intelligence friends said that that would be coming. If they could not get the people to rile up, to riot in this nation, to disarm this nation, that would use a false flag event, which would be a nuclear event. I pray to God that doesn't happen, but just letting you know. So be vigilant. And you know, I would still stock up on more food and water. I just encourage you to do that. Like I said, I don't know what's really going to happen, friends. But we can see things are not going to go good no matter what happens. And even if they did do a coup, you do martial law, that really, really, really opens up a can of worms, and that could go in any direction at that point. So just keep those things in mind. Keep that close to your heart. All right. And be in prayer about these things. All right. So anyway, we love you guys. We thank you. Thank you for your support too of the ministry there. And we thank our friends there for our website fixing up some of these issues. I didn't even look at the bookstore part of it. Let me just click on that and see. Ooh, the bookstore is a not found error. Wow. All right. So our books that we used to have here are no longer there. So okay, I don't know what happened there. So, all right, you can jump back to the home page from there. That's good. Anyway, it's all right. The books I wrote need to be revised anyway. So, you can also help support the broadcast if you'd like. Our address, Den-Nun Institute, P.O. Box 156, Sunbright, Tennessee 37872. You can do that either in Den-Nun Institute or Stephen Ben-Nun, like you see there on the video. You can also click online, and that will take you directly to be able to donate as well on our PayPal, which doesn't matter what kind of credit card you use. You can use anything you'd like. We thank you. And also, don't forget EMP Shield. I say it because, like I said before, many times before, I believe in it. In fact, I need to contact a friend of mine there. I was supposed to call him the other day. So, Brother Matt, if you happen to be listening, forgive me, my brother, for not getting up with you. I should have already got back with you. Anyway, if you're going to do something for your vehicle, which is to me is the most important thing you could protect, don't forget, just add it to your cart. They got a little discount on there anyway there. And, whoop, wait a minute. Add it to your cart. You're supposed to be able to do your INL code there. Maybe I'm doing this wrong, so let me let's see, shop. Let's see. Let's just try it this way. Home protection. All right, add to your cart. And right when you add it to the cart, you're supposed to be able to add your coupon code. Maybe I got to go to the cart to do it. Yeah, let's take it to the cart. And then, yeah, there we go. INL 50. Just add that in there, apply that coupon code. It'll give you a $50 discount on the item that you're purchasing. It'll show up there in your totals. There it is right there. And regardless of what you get in there, it'll always give you the additional $50 off. So if you order several things, then you'd get it for each one of those things. Especially with all this talk of invasions and martial law. And of course, with martial law, they're talking about blackouts and things like that. I don't doubt it. Don't doubt it a bit in the world. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Stephen Ben-Nun with Israeli News Live. God bless you and good evening.